Good afternoon and welcome to today's ICE webinar, a cool place for hot topics. Today we are joined by Nicole Dhanraj, Independent Business Advisor and Support Specialist. Just a reminder that ICE magazine is headed to ICE 2023 at the Renaissance Nashville Hotel, Tennessee this Friday until Sunday. The Imaging Conference and Expo is the only conference dedicated to imaging directors, radiology administrators and imaging engineers. ICE offers valuable CE credits from the ASRT and ICI and is a unique community of key decision makers and influential imaging professionals. There's still time to register, so for more details, please visit attendice.com. Today's webinar is eligible for one ARRT Category A CE credit by the FAHRA. You can obtain your CE certificate by completing the post-webinar survey, which will be emailed 1 hour after the completion of today's webinar. You must complete the survey to receive your 1 CE credit, and you'll be able to download the certificate directly from your computer once the survey is submitted. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. We'll wrap up today's presentation with a live Q&A, so please submit your questions anytime using the questions feature on the webinar dashboard. Let's kick off today's webinar by giving away one of our brand new ICE gym bags to the attendee that can tell me the answer to the following trivia question. As we all know, today is Valentine's Day. So what state produces most of America's red roses? Answer now using the questions feature on your dashboard, and I'll reveal the answer at the end of the webinar. As I mentioned earlier, our presenter today is Nicole Dhanraj, and she will be discussing from director to entrepreneur. Nicole, you may begin whenever you're ready.
All right, thank you so much for that introduction, Linda. Hi everybody, it is a pleasure to be here. I apologize, my setup is a little bit weird today. I'm not at home, but I am so thrilled to bring today this presentation for you, director to entrepreneur. Really just having a conversation around it since my journey, or actually for those of you who know me for a long period of time, you know I like to dabble. So since I actually made the full transition, I've had a lot of people reach out, well, tell me how you do it. Aren't you scared? You know, especially I have 4 children at home and, you know, the one driving pretty much the business here. So I had a lot of conversation and I thought it would be really cool to present this to you. So as we get started here, a little bit about me. For those of you who don't know me, I have been in radiology for 20+ years. The time sure does go by pretty quickly. I started my journey in the military. I was definitely groomed, you know, to be dressed right, dressed kind of a leader until, of course, you know, as I got more experience in the nonprofit, for-profit, government, it really built me all my skills as a leader. Definitely what's going to help in providing that support as an entrepreneur as well. So I got my start through the military, transitioned into the civilian world, took a huge step, going from a tech into a director. So I had about 15 years of being a director under my belt, or probably closer to 18 or so. The last few years of my career, I would say the last 7 years have been quite intense. I've been out in Guam. That was a phenomenal experience. Got a lot of experiences that pertains to dealing with a very political world. And then more recently at Flagstaff, Arizona. Now, my journey here, again, it's really from my perspective. There's a lot of different comments about being an entrepreneur, and I'll certainly entertain those questions at the end. But wanting to give you, from my point of view, from really, you know, from an imaging leader going into this role, you know, how I started, what you can think of, because I know for a lot of you, exactly what I said, you know, you've come to me and said, well, gosh, I'm really thinking about doing this on a full-time, I'm getting close to retirement, or some of you have been burnt out and needing a change. So my question to you is, why are you here? Are you just toying with the idea? Are you ready to turn your side hustle into a full-time business? Are you needing a push? Or Linda mentioned getting some CE credit for this. Are you just here for the credit? So, you know, you think about your reason of why you decided to attend this presentation, because that will give you an understanding too of how committed you are to this idea. I can tell you, I mentor a lot of people. That's part of my business consulting. And I have a lot of people that come to me and they want to do so many things, but there's no action. It's all dreaming, right? And that's what it is. It's a plan with no action is just a dream. So you have already made the first step. You're at ground zero here because you're committed to this idea that potentially you could actually be a full-time entrepreneur, or maybe even start the process there. Now, for some of you, depending on your age, a lot of people think, oh, am I too late? That chapter is gone. I don't know. But there's so much opportunity. You think about people that start businesses in their 60s, their 70s, and are successful with it. So there's no better time than now. And that was a key factor for me as I explained my journey, recognizing, gosh, you know what? There's no better time than now for me. I'm going to continue. You know, life always happens. The kids, the busyness, your family, all sorts of stuff get into the way. But when you realize that, wait a minute, you know, we're not getting any younger, you know, time is just going by. I don't want to live without thinking, oh, I could have done this, I should have done this. So I really looked at it in terms of there's no better time than now. And I will preface that by saying that over the years, I do just like to jump in things feet first and then try to figure out where the parachute is on the way down. But I had reliance on that. I look at the last 20 years of my life and thinking, you know, for the most part, I've made some decent decisions. And even when they were kind of questionable, I knew how to land on my feet. I pivoted, I was agile. So, and then again, looking at my directorship experience, the type of organizations that I belonged in, the culture, I'm like, if I can survive those things, I can certainly survive entrepreneurship. And then lastly, you know, history does give you some confidence to move forward into the future. As a young 18-year-old in the Army, I went through the gas chamber. And that was an experience that was like no other. And I felt to myself, if I can survive that, if I could survive boot camp, then there's nothing that I cannot do. So you can look back into, you know, something in your past, especially if you're concerned about, you know, you have that kind of anxiety with it. Look back and determine, gosh, you know, look at some of these situations that you powered through. Look at how you were agile, you were flexible, you're adaptable. Whether you survived some sort of health crisis, whether it is in your family. So when you evaluate all the experiences that you've been through, then fear doesn't become a factor for you, because you should have confidence that you have had skills to power through certain events. I actually didn't appreciate, especially with my military days, the power of that, what that meant for me as an adult until maybe the last 3 or 4 years of my career, recognizing like, wow, you know what? There are some things that made me stronger as a person. There are some things that made me less fearful, reduce the anxiety. So I feel I can face anything head on. So that's one way to kind of get your mindset going there. Now, and especially in today, it is so easy to start a business. You don't need these huge technical skills. You don't need to be a social media expert. You don't need to have the know-how in order to start a business. Everything is available at our snap of our fingers. I'm fortunate to mentor a group, this is my second cohort, a group of entrepreneurs that Pepsi has sponsored. And I'm always, you know, so enamored to see the cohort, the participants. They really didn't have any business background, but here they are running successful businesses, and they're still learning. That's why they're part of this cohort. And that's the beauty about entrepreneurship. It's not a destination per se. It is a lengthy journey which you're going to be learning. There's YouTube, there is all of these masterminds, there are these cohorts. So there's a lot of opportunity for you to jump in and just continue learning. Now also, you know, I want to make mention, I know some of the reasons, and you can put in the chat there, I'll take a look at it here. A lot of the reasons that people, you know, they peer in, oh, that seems interesting, you know, I'm just curious, I'm thinking about it, I'm trying to plan the next 2 to 3 years of my career. Or maybe you may just be uncertain about your future. You know, we see a lot of layoffs happening in the tech world. We see the advent of a lot of this AI software. Is it possible that a layoff or something negative is in our future? That certainly is a possibility out there. And then lastly, are you unhappy with your situation? A lot of us are going through some really challenging times in the director world or the leadership role. And it's not a secret. We have seen the mass exodus that has happened with our colleagues. We have seen the shortages. So it's no surprise that a lot of us are unhappy. We are doing more with less. And that was part of my situation, recognizing I am doing so much for somebody else, for another organization. I am putting 2000% of effort into my job, into my team every day. But what am I getting in return other than fulfillment? And that was a difficult conversation, because for first time as a leader, thinking about, you don't look for a reward as a leader, right? Especially from a servant leadership perspective, you are a giver. And what I was recognizing is I like to give, and I will give and give and give, recognizing that I need to have some balance with that giving as well. I would prefer to have something tangible. I'm to the point in my life that, gosh, all of this effort and all I get is probably gray hair in my hair, right? So as opposed to feeling fulfilled, I feel fulfilled with being an imaging leader, but the output of what I was getting, I wasn't fulfilled with that for the amount of effort. So the expectations compared to the effort just wasn't balancing. So that's where I started questioning myself. What else is there out there that I can do? You know, I think I got another at least 30 plus years in front of me, 30 to 40 years. But then also, I don't know. I don't know if I have another day or year in front of me. So why am I waiting for the right time? So all of these questions start popping up. I was curious. I was now amongst people that were, you know, in entrepreneurship. I volunteer with a nonprofit. I see what they're doing, and I was like, I became more curious. I'm uncertain about my future, not so much from a job loss perspective, but in terms of, do I want to keep doing this for the next 30 years of my life? And then with the unhappiness there, as I mentioned. So today we're going to go through 4 main things here. The why. Why should you consider being an entrepreneur? And then you as a candidate. A lot of people think, oh my gosh, you know, I could never do what you're doing, or I can never do this and just jump, you know, but you are the perfect candidate for entrepreneurship. Then I'll tell you more about my journey and, of course, wrap up with the lessons learned. So the why. You know what? Why do people want to consider entrepreneurship? Entrepreneurship is not for the weak, but at the same time, imaging leadership is definitely not for the weak. Look at what we do on a daily basis. We deal with ambiguity, chaos, you know, things ever changing. So it's pretty much the same journey within entrepreneurship. It is not a clear-cut journey as we see with maybe other professions. So typically the why for becoming an entrepreneur is wide, right? You want to have freedom. You want to be responsible for you. You know, I've led teams of 100, 200. I've led small teams of 30, 40, 10 people, but all of them, I am responsible for somebody else. I could be putting in 100 or 1,000%, but I may have members on my team or lateral colleagues that may not be putting in that effort, yet I am responsible for them. Now, on the business side, I'm still responsible for employees, but it feels different. But if you want to be a solopreneur like I am for now, I do have a mini team behind me, but for the most part, I operate as a solopreneur. I am responsible for me. So if I choose to laze today, if I choose to drive to the mountains, I am responsible for that decision. If I choose to work 16 hours, again, I am responsible for that. We all love a challenge. You wouldn't be in imaging leadership if you didn't love a challenge. I remember just before I migrated to Arizona from Guam, I had a fantastic opportunity to be the director of HR in Japan. And I remember I had 3 opportunities, that a director out of the university in Jamaica, and my Arizona opportunity. So as I was prioritizing and kind of laying out the pros and cons, reached out to a couple of people, and they're like, Nicole, HR, are you sure you want to do that? You're like an octopus. You want your hands in everything like radiology offers. So I don't know. So radiology does offer that. There's a bit of HR, there's a bit of project management, change management, so much associated with radiology. So I stuck with the radiology director position. But ultimately, we are really good at navigating those challenges, and we get the same satisfaction with entrepreneurship. And as I mentioned earlier on, life is too short to not fulfill your goals. That's kind of where I am with my mindset. I don't want to have any regrets. If I want to jump 100 feet, I'm going to jump 100 feet. So, you come back to your priorities, your values, and your why. Thinking about maybe it's because of the job you feel burnt out, and it's okay. I feel like these days we talk about burnt out as if it's some sacred B word we shouldn't be talking about. But all of us leaders at some point are going to face burnout. Why? Not so much because of the job itself, because we're passionate, we give. Well, a lot of us are servant leaders here. So we give so much, we want to solve the problems of radiology throughout. So we're going to have that imbalance between passion and burnout. You're going to be giving so much that you are going to hit a brick wall. I believe I am so strong. Look at my invisible cape behind me. I would have never thought the words burnout, PTSD, all of those go hand in hand with Nicole. But as I look back at my career, recognizing, oh, I can pinpoint the areas that I did feel burnt out. But fortunate, I did have the clarity, and I'm a very reflective person. So I reflect again, is this what I want? Is this what I signed up for? Is this going good? Is this to my benefit? Is this to my benefit of my team? So I started asking all of these questions and then align those with my values and priorities. So why are you a perfect candidate? Well, think about it. You are a great leader already, and thus that makes you a perfect candidate. If you can lead an organization, a department within that organization successfully, then that's it. You are a great candidate to be an entrepreneur, because that's what it is about. It's about leading. It's about moving your business in a direction. It's about building a team of high performers, the team that you get to choose to help you move your business forward. So if you need a reminder, here are some. Why are you a great candidate? You're credible. You've established your credibility. We know each other from our associations. When we visit conferences, we see each other on LinkedIn. You are credible. If you weren't credible and if we couldn't count on you, you weren't competent, you wouldn't be in your position, right? Now, I guess we could probably have some side conversation. We know that there are some leaders out there that really shouldn't be in the position, but for the most part, the majority of us are competent and we're credible. We were selected for that position based on our background, based on our experiences, and you can leverage that very easy as an entrepreneur. You're also responsible. You take the initiative, you're disciplined, you get things done, right? So you can have a project and you're going to make sure that you're going to have the outcomes that you seek. And the best thing here is you are a problem solver. All of us here are really good problem solvers. Now, for sometimes, we'll pull our hair out, but at the end of the day, we can have a crisis right now, and by end of day or within the next few minutes, you have a solution, some sort of interim solution. And that's what business is about. It is about solving other people's problems. So, and it's just incredible to recognize that all of these skills and traits that you have as a director, as a leader, that can be leveraged into entrepreneurship. It's not cut out again for those, the weak or the faint at heart, but you already have those skills that you've built on for how many years you've been a leader to pivot easily into this industry. You create change. You are a visionary. You are a strategic thinker. That's the big thing here. A lot of times what I see with my mentees too, they haven't developed their strategic thinking as yet. They're more tactical, they're responding. They're very reactive to things that are happening within their business, as opposed to us as leaders, we are very strategic. You're already planning out 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, especially when you think about capital equipment, building new facilities, expanding your services. So you're already looking at the future of the market, where the industry is going, and moving ahead that way. You got the grit. You're putting in some hours there, right? You're not just working 8 hours and going home. You're working while you're home. You're even working while you're asleep, because if you're like me, you're picking up that phone at 2 o'clock in the morning just to check if your team is okay. So you are dedicated. You have that commitment to the cause. The only difference now is the cause is your business. You got operational knowledge, Lean Six Sigma, project management, HR. Those are the core skills that I use in my business. And there are lots of opportunities for you to solve. You are resilient, you are an inspiration, you are a change manager. So all of those things make you a great candidate. But let me address some concerns. Again, these are the things that people typically come to me with. Oh my gosh, it could be a roller coaster. I need, a monthly income. Well, that's why we plan, right? We talked about the strategy, strategic thinking. You will have a strategy. When it's quiet, you do something that you love. That's the time to take a vacation. I can tell you, in the last, I would say 12 years of being some sort of business owner, I always look forward to think, okay, next year it's going to slow down. It's going to slow down. I have not had one bit of a slowdown time in the last 12 plus years of having side hustles and businesses. So it is going to be a roller coaster, but it's also dependent on the type of business that you have. Entrepreneurship could be lonely indeed, right? You're home, you're working from home, but you find people that are part of your tribe. I just got part of the Bunker Labs community. I am, with some other business owners. I'm part of this cohort. So I find people that could uplift me. It does not need to be lonely. Entrepreneurs are born, not made. So untrue. I did not think I could be a leader, much more for an entrepreneur. I decided, let me see what this looks like. And I just went for it. So you're going to learn along the way. You're going to be making mistakes indeed, but that's why you have your tribe to help support you. Entrepreneurship is only for the young. Not at all. So again, looking at the different mentees that I have one mentee who's been 30 years as a lawyer. She just decided that she would go ahead and go along this path. So, it is not for the young. You have a lot of opportunity out there. So the journey. One thing I realized the day that I decided I cannot be shy anymore. Believe me, I used to be very, very introvert. I recognized that opportunities don't happen, that I needed to create them. I also recognize, as a female minority leader in radiology, the challenges that for me to push through this, I need to make sure that I can create opportunities. And that's how I built my background, my education, my experience, because I couldn't rely on others to help support me. It wasn't like everybody was embracing me. Come to my organization, we would love you here. Recognizing, no, I need to build my name, I need to build my brand, and then I need to build what I need to in order to get the opportunities I seek. So it's not just a tale of, okay, it's a step-by-step sequential sequence. It's a tale of a lot of trial and error. And that's where really my journey, if I had to put a timeline to it, it probably happened about 10, 12 years ago once I started dabbling into side hustles, freelancing, contracting, and of course, small businesses, until, now I'm in full 100% to it. So let's look at the journey. I started as a leader, as a director. And like I said, very rewarding. I have done great things I'm proud of. I've had fantastic teams. I've also had teams that stressed me out and made me pull my hair out. But all of those were learning lessons. Everything that I've experienced in my director life was very, very rewarding on multiple counts, even in the really dark times or the challenging times. That is, all of those experiences grew me as a person, as quite a tall bamboo here. So I have all of those experiences that I leverage going forward. Now, on the dark side of it, director life could be a little soul-sucking. Now, I say that out of being very transparent and honest. This is not an indicator for you to go quit your job. This is not to dog on directors, anything like that. It is just being very honest. It is energy draining, depending on your organization, depending on your location, depending on the resources that you have available. And also, depending on that organization, you may be feeling like you're pushing this huge boulder up this hill. And it's just not a hill. It is a rounded hill. So you're going up and then you come back to center, you try again, and then you make some leeway and then you come back to the bottom and so forth. So it feels like this pendulum that, again, am I moving the needle forward? Now, my counter to that is anything that I do, it is going to be for the betterment of my organization, team, and patients. So even if I moved 0.01%, I still celebrate that win. But again, based on my personality, I want to continue moving that boulder down the road and feeling super, super satisfied with that. So recognizing that I'm just in this pendulum, right? We get to a good point and then we come back. We get to a good point and here's COVID. We get to a good point and here's a mass exodus. And that's what I'm talking about. So we're facing this challenges as we're going along. I'll come to the question in a quick second. And then time, right? Just as I said, okay, I think I have another 30+ years in front of me, but do I really? So why not now? Why not take a leap and try something? If it doesn't go work out, I'll come back, right? I'll come back and do what I love. So there is still the opportunity there. It's not like you're leaving imaging. I'm still involved in imaging quite a bit. It's a bulk of my work as well. But, you know, again, feeling that some parts of my life is unfulfilled. You know, I'm being this director, I'm radiology 90%. And then the fun stuff that I do, I probably need that balance to go in the opposite direction. So my pathway started as a freelancer. So let me go way back. I originally started as a doing a lot of side hustles. You know, every year I would start a new business. I was in the farmers market, I was in the mall, but I was just doing things because I wanted to do it. I had the time. And, you know, so I really started maybe more of developing these small businesses. My brain is very creative, so my husband could be building raised gardens for spring, and then next thing you know, I'm taking pictures and posting it online, and we got a line out the door to pick these up. So when I realized that, wow, I can do this thing, you know, I got into different things. I had a print shop, I had a selling items for your pets. We did, you know, your booties, the hoodies, all sorts of stuff. And then I did jewelry boxes, all sorts of stuff. I did promotional items, the raised beds. I had a pressure washing business. So all of these things were what I've been doing, just trying it out for the sake of doing it, not really recognizing it. It didn't really sink in that, oh my, I'm an entrepreneur. So that's, you know, all my, I would quote unquote, you know, side hustles. I think I would just put all of it into, I was just doing these side hustles. And I guess having all of these learning lessons. Then I got into property investment and built my portfolio quite a bit, started renting, having a lot of passive income there. From the freelancer and contractor, I started freelancing. I got into writing. Me, Nicole, as a writer, really? And then I realized, wow, I'm kind of good at this. And wow, people are paying me to do this. So I started developing courses, again, leveraging what I know, healthcare, business, marketing. So got into that. So I started doing that freelancing and then into contracting, where people would hire me for projects and I would be a contractor that way. I did a lot of work in Guam with the university there. So and the key thing here is that I didn't really go seek these things out. The only thing I sought out was my side hustles. And I got 4 mouths to feed. So, and again, with a creative mind, hey, what can we do, right? So, but on the freelancer, on the contractor side, that's where my credibility came in. People were reaching out to me. And, you know, I do have a little bit of squirrel syndrome. I'm like, oh, that sounds good. Let me try that. And what I was doing there too was also in the back of my mind being strategic about my life. Because I said, God forbid, a robot takes over my job. I'm unable to be, you know, coming into an office. I can still work. I wanted to be agile and pivot. Before I knew what agility and pivoting meant, that's what I was thinking, that I am never out of a job. So when I was approached with items, I was like, oh, let me give this a try. Sure. So that was really my pathway until now. I'm that full-fledged entrepreneur with being predominantly a solopreneur, and meaning that I am running, I am the service, I am the product, but also I do have a partnership with my small CE company here. So there was a question, let me go to that, or a comment. Oh, let me get to it. Okay, how as a solo practitioner, you get access to benchmark data for clients as those services like advisory board are extremely expensive. Maybe I will need some more insight. So are you asking in terms of how do I charge for my service, or how do I use benchmark data for my clients? If you can clarify, and I'll come back to that. And I will talk about how I charge for my services as well. So you've seen the why, right? You understand the why. You understand why all of us are really good candidates. And this could be, you know, a month-long conversation. So please reach out to me. I'd love to share a little bit more with you after this. But we've gone through the why you're a good candidate, you know, kind of the status of the industry right now that's kind of prompting us to consider some alternatives here. But let me tell you some learning lessons. Now, it is a life sentence. I wouldn't advise it for everybody, right? You got to be dedicated, you got to be committed, you got to be willing to accept a level of risk. And I did realize that about myself. I am open to risk. My husband, he's more conservative. Like when I left my last job, he was like, you sure you want to do this? You know, and so he is not as a risky taker as me. So, you know, but he does provide that level of grounding. If I say, okay, I want to jump, he's going to say, well, you know, if you jump, possibility of twisting your ankle, but, you know, if you want to do it, okay, these are all the scenarios, you make the decision. So, you know, I think it's important that you have support also and recognize your level of risk. If you're more conservative, you're going to need a little bit more push. You're going to need to start with smaller baby steps, maybe that freelancing or that side hustle. The question is, how did I find freelancing opportunities? With just being on LinkedIn. So people were reaching out to me. In my last, I would say I have been quote unquote in business for a few, let's say 10 years, informally, and now within the last year formally. I have never had to market anything. I've had people just coming to me. I interact on LinkedIn. I'm involved. You see me at conferences. I share my knowledge so people are aware, and I surround myself with opportunities. So if I go to a place, so when I was in Guam, I know what there's potential opportunities there. So we start having conversations. I like planting seeds. So I would plant seeds in clients' ears, and then pretty much they reach out to me. I just had somebody reach out to me, hey, Nicole, can you provide me a menu of your HR services? And I'm like, menu? Oh my gosh, let me see what I can create here for you. So a lot of things too, when people come to me, I may be creating things as I go along. I will find people that I can leverage. I may say, hey, Mario, I know that you're really good at this. I got a gig for you here. So I've also learned to be flexible that way as well. So let's look at some of these lessons here. Alpana, we can talk more about those freelancing, but you know, there's a lot of opportunities. You can go on Fiverr, Udemy, you can have your website, a landing page, you can advertise your services on LinkedIn, but also depending on your existing community, you can have people seek you, especially when they know what you're doing. So one of the biggest things for me, it has been so eye-opening. Like I thought that I was making good money as a director. I had some really good benefits. You know, I've had a pretty decent or successful career. But now when you come into this whole other world, it was like, wow, what is this? Being amongst people who are part of the 2-comma club, who is making, you know, 7, 8, 9 figures, people like me, like ordinary people, like it just made it so, there's this world that I don't know, and then you're making it more possible. Before, there's this world of directors and managers that I wanted to be part of. And that's all I knew. That was my ceiling, that I knew how much a director could make. I knew how much a VP, or, you know, as I look at my potential career path, I'm thinking, okay, I know what, you know, salary and benefits that I can get. But now, as an entrepreneur, being amongst these people, it's now my ceiling has gone up. This is now a possibility for me. I am capable of producing results and having a good income and having the lifestyle that I want. Really? So that was hugely eye-opening. The best example I can give you, I love this example, but you know, Nemo goes to Papa Fish and says, "Hey Papa, what is this thing called water around us?" And Papa looks to Nemo and said, "My little sweet Nemo, water is that is which is around us." And what does that mean? If you're in your fishbowl, that's all you see. But when you come out of your fishbowl, there is a world of opportunity out there, a world that you need to dig into and just be amazed. I have been an entrepreneur. I was a SBA mentor, a SCORE mentor in my younger days, but I was sharing information based on, you know, what I experienced with my side hustles. Now I'm at a different level of entrepreneurship, surrounding myself with, you know, various mastermind groups. You know, I belong to a ton of Facebook groups and really just experiencing that. You got to change your mindset. It's not, am I able to do this? It's yes, when am I going to do this? So your narrative, I was just speaking to my mentor. He was like, "Nicole, you know, my goal for this year is 2.5. I said my goal for this year is 1. And then I was like, you know, I don't know if I can make that 1. Maybe I'll make $500,000. Maybe I'll make 800,000. And he was like, "Nicole, I don't have time for that narrative." And that was another eye opener. I know my capabilities. I know where my business is going. But then I recognize that it's really about the mindset and your narrative. I don't know how I'm going to make that. I have a general idea. I don't know how I can make 2.5, but that's not what he is telling me to think about. You're going to figure it out. So that's the journey I'm on. I am going to figure it out. I have my goals in place. So you start figuring it out, because why? The possibilities are endless. When you're at a director or some other senior level job, that's your cap. You don't have a cap when it comes to entrepreneurship. So the obstacle really was never about the mountain, but it was about me, that I am thinking I am not capable. Like, I think I can conquer the world. Really, I have that mindset, but to truly see it on paper and think, yeah, I can have a multi-million-dollar business. I can just have a successful business. Like, I still can't fathom that 100%. So I'm still working on that narrative myself. And the other aspects too, when I coach my mentees, it's like, you got to come out of the hustler world, right? I'm not hustling anymore. I used to hustle, you know, a few years ago when I was changing businesses. Hustling is making $100, $200. No. We're going to look for bigger target items. You're driving a business, not a side hustle. Money, we were talking, that's what I was asking about, clarification. The value of my skills. When I started, just before COVID, I had made the decision to transfer into entrepreneurship full-time. And then I thought, gosh, you know, people were not going to want to spend money. That's why I ended up looking for the job. But then when I set my prices, I was like, oh, I don't want people to feel like I'm overcharging them. Gosh, you know what? I just started my business. I don't want to be setting prices and turning away customers. Not anymore. I know the value of my skills. And even today, when I set my prices or I push the bar a bit more, I'll call my mentor, "You will never believe what I did. Instead of asking for X, I asked for Y." And guess what? They didn't even blink an eye. So that also gives me understanding I could increase my rates as well. So you have to value your skill. One thing, my key message to my mentees, be unapologetic about your pricing. If you want to be a Walmart version, go be the Walmart version. If you want to be the Bugatti brand or your Rolex brand, go be that brand. But you got to identify who you want to be, so that way you charge the prices. I want to be the premier brand, the premium brand. So that's what my prices are. And I do have clients coming to me, Nicole, would like your services, but we can't afford you. I said, well, first of all, you didn't give me the opportunity to provide you a quote. But at the same time, that is where now I come in and I speak to the quality and value that I bring. Some cases, yes, I will reduce my prices based on the organization, the mission, but overall, you are getting a premier brand. My mindset has changed. Gone are the days that you've gotten, Nicole, at the 80% rack off at Macy's. I have gone through that phase and I've accepted, I've learned a lot, but at the same time, I want to be that premier brand. I have specific clients that I would go after, but it's not a bad thing if you're going, for the Walmart brand as well. Whether it's product or service, are you going for volume or are you going for quantity? I am going, quality, higher ticket. I am going after the higher ticket items. And you're enough. There's nothing else that you need. As a manager, as a leader, you got pretty much 60–70% of the skills there. Now, as far as medical coverage, that was the question there. What do I do for medical coverage? Well, that's a huge concern as well. And like I said, I'm a little bit of a risk taker as well. So I have confidence that I'm relatively healthy. The probability of something happening is really minute. But also, I would put aside money for health insurance. And if you have your tax structure set up appropriately, your health insurance is a business expense. So, I'm not going to think about my health insurance as holding me back. If something happens, I will have money to leverage, or at least I'll have a savings that I can at least take care of my health bills. But in the meantime, and again, this is how I've built my life. I've always been sucking away money that should something happen upon without health insurance for significant periods of time. You remember I told you your past, your history is confidence to move forward. When I look back and realize, gosh, I was worried. I got young kids, I got no health insurance. We made it. Nobody suffered with a broken bone. But if they did, I could take them to the hospital. I can still afford it. It may take me a few months to pay off compared to having the cash. So it's not a limiting factor per se. But as I say that, Angela, one of the other things was that recently I decided to leverage, I still teach at one of the universities. So I leveraged what they offered. It's still an arm and a leg, but it's no concern for me. Why? Because it's a business expense. The way that I set up the business, it's going to make sure that it pays it. It's going to offer that health benefit. And then you have more benefits there. I'm looking now to probably hire my children and offer tuition benefits. So the possibilities, that's what I'm saying, the possibilities are endless. If you're amongst people who are going to say, gosh, Angela, if you take this leap, you go, what are you going to do about health insurance? Then go find the people that are going to give you the solution to your concerns that you have. You're not the only one with this concern. There are other people who've had that concern and that have found ways to mitigate this. So this is what I've spent my time really delving into and understanding my best business structure, how I can be tax efficient, the different opportunities, how I can market, how I can leverage higher. So when you're part of that tribe that would give you support, you'll definitely have a lot of those answers. The key thing is you getting started, leverage your network. You are already connected to so many people. They will reach out to you, okay? And when you let them know what you're doing. You got skills, you got experience. Leverage your ethnicity, your gender, your affiliations. If you got military, now I can be a minority, woman-owned, depending on where you're living to, there's another certification you can get. So if you're going after government contracts or you're going after grants, if you're nonprofit, you got things that potentially you could leverage. If not, have a partnership and you can leverage that partnership together. A huge, huge, huge lesson is being a visionary and a doer. I cannot be working and strategizing at the same time. I cannot be driving the bus and sitting in the background. So that's where I was telling you I went from solopreneur, well, I am going from solopreneur into building a high performance team around me. I can't be doer, I can't be doing the work and the visionary. I also don't want to be the face of the work each time, because when a client hires me, then they may need me. I did pitch this to a client recently that, you know, they asked for some services and I said, yep, I'm going to get you somebody who can help. They were like, no, Nicole, I don't want anybody but you. And that's where I realized, well, gosh, you know, I kind of gave them the habit of they will have me to produce. So my vision, what I want is a laptop lifestyle on a beach somewhere. I want to pick up myself and go. I got kids, we're going to pick up and go. So that's not a limiting factor as well. So, but at the same time, I realized I cannot be visionary and doer. I cannot go out there and be delivering all the trainings. I need to figure out either automation. So that's huge, right? Because the times that I'm working in the business and nobody is strategizing to move forward. Partnership. I had a partnership that fell into my lap recently, and recognizing we have two different worlds and views about business, but there's strength in numbers. I can leverage his experience, he leverages mine. So if you're kind of on the fence, you can certainly look at a partnership and leverage both skills that you have. So what does the correlation of an X-ray tube have to do with business? Well, the focusing cup. What does a focusing cup do? It takes all the high energy electrons coming from that cathode tube and then focusing it on the target to produce high quality X-rays. It's the same thing we need to do in business. You need to identify your one thing that you're going to do. What is that going to be? I still struggle with this because I'm an octopus. I sometimes have squirrel syndrome, right? You come to me with an opportunity right now, I will be thinking about it. Versus I need to be focused and channel on building. So what I want to do, or what I am doing, is building a mile long, 3 inches wide, versus building, a mile deep, versus building a mile long, 3 inches deep. So that's where your one thing comes in. What is the one thing that you want to do? What is the one product that you have, or the one service? My one service is consulting, but consulting is quite huge. You know, I can do Lean Six Sigma, I can do HR, project management, I can build you, I can do so much, but I need to challenge that. And that's where I'm working with my mentors around me to make sure that I become more focused. I am rather focused, but as I focus, I'm like scatter radiation. I do tend to, you know, deviate sometimes from the main idea. And it's okay to try many things. If you decide to pivot and do something, you may not recognize that, oh, you don't like this and you want to do something else. When I started writing and developing courses, I thought, wow, this was good. You know, I'm developing my skill. But as I got really good at it, I was like, this is so labor intensive, the amount of research. And it's like, I don't want to do that anymore. So then I cut back on that. Or I started outsourcing that. So instead of just saying no to the work, I just found people who would do it. So, you know, there's so many things you can try here: an online business, freelancing, contracting, investing, passive streams of income, drop shipping, content creation, selling some sort of product or service on Etsy, Shopify, whatever it is, feel free to try many things before you decide on your one thing. But also, don't let anybody tame you. If this is who you are, like me, and you want to be an octopus, go be an octopus. Just find other people who are like octopi, like you, and join that club. I tend not to say your way is the wrong way. You can say, well, hey, Nicole, you know, if you take this path, higher level of success, so you'll see your revenue increase 10x over the next few months. But if that's not me and I'm just doing it just because, then I'm not going to enjoy it. So choose the path that you want and be unapologetic about it. The key thing too also is recognizing the stage you're in. Some of us, that's why there's a high rate of entrepreneurship, they're giving up. Entrepreneurs tend to fail in the first few years of their business because they don't recognize the stage that they're in. You know, the grinding, you're grinding a lot, you're marketing your services, you're in development mode. So don't be too close and then turn around. Keep going. That's where your grit, you already got grit. You've been at your job for how long? You got grit. You've been tolerating the politics and the stress. You got grit. You can keep on going. So, you know, and this is, again, we're having mentorship support to help understand, how do I pivot? What do I do? It's been 2 years, setting your timelines. All that is really part of the actual business here. What am I worth? That's what, you know, what one was the question there. I have decided I am worth premium. I am not at the 80% rack anymore because I have recognized that I don't need to sell myself short to make the income. And I'm not talking about directorship work. I'm talking about what I was charging for my services before. I had butterflies. Even though I know this, I had butterflies recently a week ago. I proposed my contract a 20% increase. When I first wrote that contract, it was a 10% increase. I actually started at 15 and then I settled at 10. And I'm like, nope, it is 20%. And I came confident at it. So I still navigate this world to recognize what I am worth and being okay with if somebody says no to me, that's okay. That's probably the client I didn't want in the first place. I want to focus on the clients that would pay me for what I'm worth them. Fear and regret are real. So as we start wrapping up here, not taking the risk, the biggest risk is not taking any risk. I was fearful of leaving my team. I still, when I think about it today, I do get emotional about it. I felt I left them behind, but also they understood what I was doing. I felt that I had to put on my oxygen mask first. I got to take care of me and my family before I can take care of patients and my team. And then also I recognized too, again, I don't know how much longer is in front of me. I would hope 40 years, but I don't want in 5 years to think, gosh, you know what? I could have done that. I should have done that. What would have that looked like? When I decided I wanted to homeschool my kids, it was September school starts. I decided in July and made it happen. So in this case, I made it happen. Well, I had a little bit of a push, but keep this in mind. Fear and regret are real. You just need to be able to navigate that, okay? Leaving my team behind is that conflict that any servant leader would feel. It requires you to make tough decisions, but if this is what you want to do, then you shouldn't feel guilty about anything. I had the great conversation with my team. They knew exactly why I was leaving for the most part, but not so much to pursue entrepreneurship. It was the state of the job. So I had a mentee called me a few days ago, calls me boss, I need to know, can I leave my job? First thing I said, you need to go ask your spouse about that, but I'm asking you, if you're telling me that you're CEO of this business and you want to move your business forward, you can't have one foot behind the bus and one foot driving. You got to make that decision. So for him, I offered clarity, but you also have to understand your situation. I just decided I would leave, right? Based on the situation there, I kind of got pushed out. We're all talking about having vulnerable conversations. I just wasn't having the support that I wanted. So that gave me the edge a bit. My team also gave me the edge, Nicole, do what's right for you. So that offered me the opportunity. And as I was pushed out, I recognized, okay, as I fall down here, where are we going to land? Journey of entrepreneurship. This is the right time to do it, as opposed to looking for another job. Funding, if you decide to fund, then you would determine, where is this going? Bootstrapping, borrowing, don't need. If you're marketing yourself, you really don't need a whole lot. If you're going to buy a franchise, like when I did my promotional, that was a $25,000 investment. So you could decide to start really small. You can start with 500, or you can start with however many, depending on what you're going after, and just launch it. So it's easy, you don't have to. There are so many opportunities now for you to launch. You can build a website in a day in order for you to launch. Yes, there is a lack of stability, time management, health insurance, feeling of isolation, and lack of structure. But these are things that you've dealt with. Maybe the health insurance, not so much, but you can figure that out as you start this journey. Or if you want to be structured and have a plan in the next 6 months, this is what you're going to do, just start finding the information to help answer these concerns for you. It is isolating, definitely, but it's also very connecting. I go out there and I meet people. I get to connect with my family. I can hop on a plane and go anywhere when I want. Lack of stability, this is an unnecessary worry for me. I don't even think about it anymore. I used to worry about this years ago. Oh my gosh, is next year going to have opportunity? My history has told me that is not a problem. Also, I know how to be agile. I know how to pivot from one industry to the next. So it's easy to figure out, well, there's always going to be business in some form or fashion. So what do you do next? What do I leave you with? Well, evaluate where are you at right now. Evaluate your situation, your family life, and then determine where do you want to be and start filling in those gaps. In 5 years, I want to be doing X. In 3 years, I want to be laptop lifestyle in any tropical island in the world. That's my vision. That's what I'm working towards. So now I'm filling in the blanks. I'm building my team, I'm building my clientele, I'm building automation around that. So what's your current state? You know this from being a director. What's your current state? What's future state? And fill in everything there. When you're filling in those gaps, that's where you're going to set those goals. It's already February. I'm a little bit behind in one of my goals, but you set your SMART goals so you make sure that you're maintaining momentum. And that is going to help remove the distractions, especially if you're like me, a little bit with squirrel syndrome. Where do you want to be? What is your raison d'etre? That's the French word of your reason for being. My reason for being is enjoying life, not being bogged down with one thing. My reason for being is to have the basking sun hit on my face and the waters of the warm Caribbean Sea lap against my toes. That is not far-fetched. I am not just going to dream and think one day that dream is going to come true. I want to dream and make sure that opportunity is created. So go back to your reason, your why, if you're really serious about this, and just start filling in the gaps. Then once you've made that commitment, this is where the ideas start coming. Generate the ideas, all the possibilities of what you can do or what you want to find yourself into. I mean, there are so many things out there, the possibilities are endless. The other thing too is conduct market research, make sure that there's a need for it. Leverage tax structures, you want to be efficient, the health insurance, paying yourself, getting opportunities, leverage those tax structures. That may take an investment as well. Then launch. So I kind of did it a little bit backwards. I launched and I'm now leveraging my tax structures. I may be changing up some stuff, but my market research, I didn't need to create that because I know what's in the industry. I've spent the time in radiology. I've spent the time amongst leaders in education, so I know what is needed. So I didn't have to spend a lot of time in market research there. And then, so then you just go out there and you launch. Again, it's not just about the idea. You're here today. There's quite a bit of you on the webinar. You are thinking about it. You got one foot there. See if you can plant both feet to make that idea happen. I would recommend be fearless in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire, and trust me, once you get to that stage, you will be a different person with a different mindset heading to this. If you have any questions, I know we're just about 2 or 3 minutes here, reach out to me. I will be more than happy to share more about my journey or give you that push that you may need to get those wings flying. So hopefully you got some takeaways there. If you felt curious, you want to kind of pursue this, start with your side hustle. Start with an Etsy shop, start with a farmer's market, whatever it is, just go out and do it.
Thank you so much, Nicole. I've sent over to you a couple of thank you messages. We are actually bang on our hour. So as Nicole says, if you have any questions, she is quite happy for you to contact her. Thank you, Nicole, for your time today and for a great presentation. That was fantastic. Made me want to be an entrepreneur.
All right, well then my job is done. Thanks everybody, reach out to me as needed.
Yeah. As promised, the answer today to today's trivia question is California. So congratulations to our winner, Mario Pizzelli. Enjoy your gym bag. A quick reminder, you can attain your CE certificate by completing the post-webinar survey, which will be emailed one after we've finished here today. You must complete the survey to receive your 1 ARRT Category A CE credit by the AHRA, and you'll be able to download the certificate directly from your computer once the survey is submitted. If you have any questions, please reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com. Visit icewebinars.live for more details of all our upcoming ICE webinars and complimentary registration. So thank you again for your time today. Happy Valentine's Day, and if you're attending ICE this weekend, have a safe trip and have fun.